Shalom, everybody. It's Ramsey Truth Bros, and today I want to do a little recap on the live stream I done last night. I don't know how many of you viewed that live stream I done with a fellow channel, and I just wanted to give you my thoughts on that. I went over Isaiah 2, and I'll put that scripture up in this video so you guys can read that for your own self and see what you guys think. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think, the context and what that's talking of. But to me, when I read that, it's talking about the second greater Exodus, because it's the same constant theme that we see that New Jerusalem will descend from heaven in Revelation 21, and the nations will flee to it. However, there's people who have different views on that. All people have tons of different views, period, on when it comes to these end time events and the timeline of how these events will occur. You'll find thousands of good arguments. Now, to me, the only thing that'll make sense is we follow these feasts because we was commanded to in Leviticus chapter 23. I'm sorry. And so many people keep on, when you talk about doing these commandments, they always bring up this simple fact. These mainstream Christianity, what I like to call churchianity, these people who are so wrapped up and developed in religion, like we all was at one time. We have to break free of that mindset of what we've been taught our whole life, of what it means to be a follower or a Christian, so to speak. Because it's been built on nothing but Catholic doctrine. We need to realize that. I was doing a little research today, and this is an area I've done tons of research on, is this canon. Did you know that the 66 canon was developed first with the Latin Vulgate, and the oldest text that we had before the Dead Sea Scrolls was found was the Aleppo Codex and the Leningrad Codex. And the Dead Sea Scrolls, guys, shows us, our oldest manuscript today shows us that they recognized Enoch. They didn't recognize it. It was just there. You know, Enoch, Jubilees, Esdras, books that people say contradict, but I've read them. I don't see any contradiction. But what I do see is further in doctrine of keeping the Torah, which we don't need these extra books to know that we're supposed to keep the Torah regardless. It's transgression of that is lawlessness and sin. Now, this Jesus who the Catholic Church has created, now listen to this very closely, what I'm about to say. I've talked about this in the past. This Jesus that you see in the Catholic Church, they always got pictures of him making weird hand gestures. Although we don't have any evidence of what the Messiah looked like, besides a little bit in the Scripture. We know he was a comely man. He was very humble. But this Catholic Jesus who they present to us, this lawless one, guys, you need to do a lot of praying on this and think about this. Tell me if he doesn't fit the description of the Deuteronomy 13 test. Guys, we have a test to find out if the Father gave us a test called the Deuteronomy 13 test, of course, in Deuteronomy 13, to show us if it's a false prophet or a false Messiah. In Galatians, Paul was talking about that in the first chapter of Galatians. And guys, this Jesus that churchianity, mainstream Christianity preaches, is this false Messiah. It just is. The one who says, you know, don't worry about what you eat. You can eat pork. You can eat catfish or food that he says is not clean. This guy who says, don't worry about keeping the Sabbath. You can do that any day. This is lawlessness, guys. This is sin. No, he said, I come in the authority to do the will of the Father. Guys, there's so many doctrines that follow this false Messiah. And then I was watching another video earlier, and every time I do, I start to get sad because so many people are in error. But which nobody's perfect. But somebody was talking about 2 Thessalonians, the strong delusion being the Mandela effect, which is the most stupid. I don't even know what to say about that. It's just so stupid. Now, people do see things that they have changed because the people at the top play with us and to see if we're noticing things all the time. I mean, of course they can change things, but the strong delusion in 2 Thessalonians is what people are doing today. Guys, the falling away has already happened. People have already fell away from the Torah, from his instructions. And people always try to say that we're complicating, taking away from the simplicity of the gospel. And that can be farther from the truth. They're the ones adding things to the gospel, making their own gospel. Guys, it's always been the same gospel, the same good news. Repent ye, the kingdom is at hand. Yahusha, our Messiah, who came, the Word made flesh, John 1, gave us another way. He's the only way. By the way, he is the only way to the Father. I want to make that clear. The Messiah is the only way. Your works cannot get you, which that's a whole nother ordeal. People always say it's about works or, is it grace? Which of course it's grace. Of course, it's always been grace through faith. Always through the blood of the Lamb. But if your works are not backing up your belief, then you're a liar. That's 1 John. James chapter 2 says that you need to fulfill the royal law, because if you offend one point or the other, if you say you love your father, your mother and your father, and you're keeping that law, but you're murdering your brother because you hate him, which it's the spiritual side of it, like Romans is talking about, not the letter of the law but the spirit of the law. Then if you break one point of the law, then you broke them all. And that's what James 2 is talking about. So he's saying, of course, there is still a law for us to be following today, a Torah. And we should thank the Father for that. We have a guideline to go by for our life. Now, Matthew chapter 15, when Yahusha, after Peter and then was on the boat, and they was all worried because the winds was boisterous and all that stuff, and he was testing his faith. Chapter 15, I got the Bible open in front of me, and Yahusha was talking to the scribes and the Pharisees, they come up to him and they was asking him, why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? Now listen to this. Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, why do ye transgress the commandments of Yahuwah by your tradition? I want you guys to know, especially people in the church today, that guys, these scribes and Pharisees that so many people claimed on the Torah and they was the most righteous. Yeah, they was self-righteous. He didn't do away with the law. And I know we talk about that a lot, but you need to know that you have to have instructions, okay, while we're here, and it's eternal. These Pharisees made their own oral law, their own oral traditions. That's why he rebuked them. He said, woe to you, Pharisee, you hypocrite, for you sit in Moses' seat, and you make the commandments of Yahuwah void. You're making the commandments of the Father void through your practices. And man, there's just so much confusion today, but there is a remnant being restored. People are waking up and realizing their identity. We're going towards a second greater exodus, so to speak. And I was talking to somebody last night, and he said, and it just blew me away. It made me so sad in my heart. Go back and watch that video from last night, that live stream. And he said that why do we even need to we don't need to keep these feasts because it's not important, because we will be a part of them anyways. I can assure you, if you're not keeping these feasts, Well, we already know there's going to be a least in the kingdom. There's going to be a great in the kingdom. He said, great is those who teach the law. Least is those who don't. Matthew 5:19 talks more about that. He says, these people, he said, whoa, did Isaiah prophesy of you, of you heathen, you hypocrites? For the people draw nigh to me with their mouth, but their heart is far from me. But in vain do they worship me, teaching commandments and doctrines of men. Commandments of men. He fulfilled the Torah. James chapter 2, Matthew 5:17. He come to not to destroy, not to do away with, but to fulfill. And guess what, guys? He wants us to fulfill them. And guess what fulfills it? Love. Love Yahuwah, the two great commandments. Love Yahuwah the Father with all your strength, all your might, all your being, and love your neighbor. That fulfills the law. And he wants us to do that. That's not too hard. That's not too much to ask. It's not too hard for us. He says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. It's a narrow path. There'll be few there that find it. Study the parables. All the parables talks about the same thing in a different way. It's about this kingdom that's coming. And I'm telling you, there's just so much confusion today. They are preaching a lawless anti-Messiah. The anti-Messiah, whether there's going to be another one come up and deceive the whole world, I'm here to tell you right now that has already happened. Think about that after you watch this. Pray about that. And comment down below and let me know what you think. And I love you guys. And I'll see you soon. Shalom. And remember that the truth will set you free. And I love you guys.